So Julia, Jules, Bish, Robson, my friend, thank you for joining me. Yeah, it's nice to catch up with you, regardless of whether it's for a podcast or not.
Yeah, I mean, always. We like the last time I saw you, I think was at Rage, right?
Yeah, it must have been
I think
Rage.
so.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Rage. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
was
there's definitely
wild for
some
you.
gaps. Yeah.
What happened, Julia?
No, honestly, that weekend was such a write-off. My phone got stolen, which was ultimately just the biggest. Like, okay, it probably to some people like, okay, South African, like this happens. You should have kind of thought about this. It's the first question I got from every single person who asked me, like, what happened is, do you have insurance? No, I don't have
Yeah,
insurance. I bought the thing
yeah.
cash. But yeah, it kind of just sucked because it was a lot deeper than that. Let's just say we found the culprit and she didn't face up to it, and now my phone is literally traveling India. I'm still tracking it. It's physically in India.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's insane.
gosh.
Yeah.
So she probably sold it to someone, and then like how does that
Yeah.
work?
I don't
Oh my
know. I
gosh.
didn't get to ask her those types of questions, but I think I should have maybe started with that. Like, so what are you gonna do with it now that you have it? But yeah,
Yeah,
let's not get
congratulations firstly on your new phone.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's
I
crazy. Shame.
think the
And
biggest
it's
thing, yeah, sorry, the biggest thing that like upsets me about it is that physically 2 years of my life, like
yeah.
memories have been erased. And it's first world
Yeah.
problems, absolutely first world. Like I'm gonna live without it. But nature of my job is to sometimes recycle old content pieces from like
Yeah.
previous events and literally my entire land that I hosted in November, all of those memories, all of the organic content pieces I created, gone, thin air,
Yeah. I was
disappeared.
going to say, yeah, it's like if they would be so kind as to just give the content back, that would help.
Yeah,
Um Shame, man. No, it is like first world problems. But the thing is, also people are like, oh, but this happens in South Africa. Like, yeah, but it shouldn't actually. Like, it
yeah,
shouldn't.
exactly,
It still sucks.
exactly.
um, yeah. So Jules, we know each other through the gaming scene. You and I think Sam Tickle were the first like people I knew of when I started streaming, when I got into gaming. Um, And you started out as a streamer like a long time ago, before a lot of people were doing it in South Africa. You were very young when you got into gaming and tech. I think you were like 16,
Yeah, I think that was
like
probably my
officially.
first official introduction was 16.
Yeah.
Wild.
Um, yeah, it's crazy. And I say this to you when I see you in person. I'm always like, I can meet someone anywhere in the world. And when I say what I do, they're like, oh, do you know Julia? And I'm like,
No
yes, I know
way.
Julia.
I don't know
Anywhere,
why that always
anywhere.
shocks me. Like, I
Yeah.
genuinely don't think that I've even made a dent of an impact, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
cool.
you don't like see it yourself. Yeah, exactly. The first time I saw you, we didn't actually officially meet, but I had heard of you. And I think it was in 2018. I went to like a gaming event. And I remember you were there and everyone was like, that's Julia, that's Julia. I was like, oh, okay, that's Julia.
And they
Yeah,
were
I don't
probably
even
going
know.
like, that's Chloe, because that's how I swear that's how I've been thinking of you. So
It's so funny. Yeah, you were like the infamous Julia. Yeah, I don't think I've ever told you that. Like, that was the first time I saw you, and you were
yeah,
wearing like, I think you were wearing like a skirt or a dress and heels. And I was like, oh, she's so glamorous.
girl, I
Yeah.
slayed then. Dress and heels, the horse. To be fair, that sounds like 2018, Julia. I went through a whole phase
Yeah.
where people were always commenting about how tall I am, and I just got to a point where I was just like, I just went bish mode. I was just like, oh, if people are gonna tell me I'm tall, I'm just gonna be freaking tall. I'm just gonna wear heels
Yeah.
as well. Just like,
Embrace it. How tall are you actually? You like,
I'm
let me guess.
177. Sorry, I
177.
spoiled it.
Okay. It's fine. I don't know what that is in feet, but yeah, so you're like 10 centimeters taller than me.
I'm like 5'11",
Ish.
I think.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you about into baby. Um, And you've been working really hard on that. You had your first one. It must have been last year now. Yeah, we're already in March almost. That's crazy. Um, yeah, how did EnterLAN come about? How did the first run of it go? And what are you like looking to do with it in future?
Your EnterLAN is a mouthful. I'm sorry if this is going to take up a big segment, but it really is
No,
like
go
it
wild.
really does go that deep. So at the age of 16, I was playing COD 4 Pro Mod. I was in that scene. So I was a Cape Townian gamer frequenting organized chaos lands. And that's basically like around about 1,000 gamers bringing their own computers to a LAN. But it wasn't like internet, the internet wasn't based like it was LAN. You're connecting to a
Mm,
server, you're connecting to local games that's being hosted at the venue. So it was very basic, but it was the coolest atmosphere ever. Like, Chloe, I wish I could transport you back into time and take you to OC with me. Like, just taking a blow up mattress and sleeping on chairs and just basically eating nothing for the weekend because you're spending all of your money on like a spare SSD that you like wangled from someone over like MIRC voice chat. It was crazy. I pink stripped my computer like one weekend. I was like, yeah, if I beat you in this comp, if I see it higher than you to this other guy, then I win your
yeah,
PC. And he was like, sure.
yeah.
We shook on it, and it happened. Like, we literally swapped cases that freaking weekend. So it was a wild west, but that that experience really stuck with me. It truly made me, the person who I am today, in the sense that I attended 36 organized chaoses in a span of under 4 years. I almost went every other month with my brother, and it was everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then ultimately, the event kind of got sold off. It wasn't feasible for the owners anymore. It kind of lost a little bit of traction. Rage was like the big one. DGC is kind of where you want to be. Everybody competed for that once a year tournament. Online gaming really took like a big ramp up, and it was like the place to be. So I guess LAN, hosts and companies, people that did that independently, just kind of didn't have like a feasible business model that could grow with the times. Like, we just weren't prepared for it. We didn't have the correct infrastructure for it. And then load shedding happened over and above that. It's just impossible. So a lot of these
Mm,
businesses fell to the wayside. But the more that I went online and streamed and created content, I connected with people that went to LANs. So fast forward a few years, I got to the point where I was like, I hate streaming. I don't want to be a content creator anymore. I hate being in the limelight. I don't enjoy social media. Like, I almost kick against everything that I've become as a job,
mm,
like trying to just hustle being a gamer, like trying to like make this work for me, selling my soul to like brands and, campaign sponsorships and partnerships just to like pay rent and stuff. And eventually I was like, I don't like this. Like, I want more security. I want to do something myself. And then just as I make that decision, COVID happens. And I'm like, shit, now the only thing that I
mm.
can do is stream because I physically can't leave the house and, go back to study or like try and do something new. So I got really stuck in that ways. Obviously, DNMK came about that time as well. I got approached to do this gaming organization thing. And I thought, yo, this is like a really cool opportunity. I'm going to grab it by the horns and really run with it. Put all my ideas onto a sheet of paper and just get them signed off by my investors and just keep, navigating this space. And then that ultimately didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. And I was planning on moving overseas, and just a lot of things were happening. I think COVID was a very difficult time for me. I'm going to preface this straight
Mm,
out. It's like, I'm not afraid to mention that. Like, a lot of people have said that about themselves too. And I think it was just a really weird time for a lot of people. And now that I've
yeah.
come out the other side of it, and I took a year to upskill myself, I decided, okay, I do want to start a business. I do want it to be into gaming. But the only thing that I've wanted to do, even throughout my time with DNMK, it was one of my biggest project pitches consistently, was hosting a LAN. It's all I wanted to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to LAN, I want to bring people together, I want to revive the local gaming community by hosting frequent events, providing some sort of calendar, some sort of platform where communities can develop off of. And ultimately, I came up with the idea of EnterLAN. It didn't work out during the time that I was at DNMK, but it's still a project that I felt super passionately about. And I just kind of looked at my own finances and I was like, either I save this for retirement, which I'm very far from still, or
Yeah.
I try and make something with this and try and make, a little bit of a self-built career, I guess. And I've jumped into the deep end, very deep. I hosted my first prototype event, which was ultimately just to showcase to people that people want to land. Because that was the first question, right? In today's day and age, why would people bring their heavy rigs and stuff from a home that most likely has an inverter, most likely has good net already? Why would they pack up their PC, which they've probably not picked up in years, and now bring it
Yeah.
to a venue and not know what to expect? So the fortunate outcome of that was that we saw that there was a pool of around about 2,000 to 3,000 people directly interested in EnterLAN, which was amazing because it showed that for a venue where my capacity was only 60 people, we had quite a few people to still grow into, which is what we wanted to prove. So straight after that, we have a really cool partnership that came about that will be announced in 2 weeks from
Oh.
today.
Oh.
So like 8th March is kind of when we have our launch date set for that. And yeah, it's just taken up literally all of my time. If I was busy last year, from like August to November, this level of busy is it's
Yeah.
actually a joke. Like I literally burst out in little crying fits at least 2 times a week, just trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing with my life. But it's exciting. It's exciting to like do something that is just so big in scale and just so cool for the gaming scene. And I really wanted to be that, like I'm
Yeah.
considering myself an employee to the scene, so to say now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really admire like how when you do something you really do it big, you're not like you're not passive about it. You're very active in how you promote everything. And I think a lot of it is you. I know you do have like help and sponsors and investors and stuff. But I think a lot of it is just like you, this is going to work. And that's sort of the attitude that I get from you. So it's really cool to see, from like I think it was mid last year, like just after mid last year that you started like promoting it and talking about it. And then all these people from all over the place were talking about it as well. And I was like, it's really cool to see that kind of fruit, from this idea you had in your mind to like this full scale thing. So yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I physically can't like thank the people enough that's been supporting the brand. I mean, it's a large chunk of the community and largely
Yeah.
content creators and streamers and even pro teams and orgs within the scene that's really gone and just said, we resonate with LAN events. We don't know what you're going to create, but we're keen to see, and we at least want to help you into the right direction. But I think what's been the biggest thing, and also that I encourage quite literally anyone to do, is to give me feedback. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, this business, unfortunately, the model, it doesn't work unless the scene feels like they're actually benefiting off of it and that everybody feels like they have a part to play. Which, in
Yeah.
my personal opinion, was probably the downfall of our previous, LAN organizers, mentality. Like we just didn't have a very strong bond between the community. And now I feel like, especially between sort of the newer content creators that have stepped into the scene, we're seeing a lot more interaction between people, a lot more collaboration, a lot more rooting for each other and supporting each other, which I find so, so, so amazing. And just
Yeah.
kind of having open discussions and being able to like call someone up and say, hey, I'm starting this new project. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm putting in 110%. Let me show you what I'm doing. If you resonate with it, if you're keen to promote it, just like one video or one story or one tweet tagging us and putting me into the right direction would be great. I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
say that we're the best because we're not yet, but
Yeah.
at least help me just position myself in a certain space, and then getting that feedback and it being so overwhelmingly positive, and you're just like, okay, cool, I have a clear direction as to where I want to go. That's where you give yourself the opportunity to like actually build a business that people want to be a part of, which I think is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You had a creator meetup. I think it must have been, was it 2020?
Yeah,
When, oh
that's
my
like
gosh, like time
20.
is just a blur.
I know. I think it could have even been like 2022 or end of
Yeah.
2021, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You had a creator meet, and we really spoke about something you mentioned. Like the word that sticks in my mind is grassroots. You spoke a lot about like gaming culture and how you can like help to translate that culture to something bigger. Just like with skateboarding as part of fashion or was part of fashion. I don't know. Don't ask me. Music forms part of fashion and culture. Gaming forms part of that as well. And the way you spoke about it was like a really interesting cultural perspective when it comes to gaming. And I think you're one of those people that have kind of translated that into what is the like bite-sized pieces for people who aren't in gaming. You've like translated it and offered it to people like the gaming culture in such a cool way.
Thank
And I
you.
think
I really
that's, yeah,
appreciate
I think
that.
that's really interesting as well because it shows you have this like huge passion for it, and it makes it interesting to other people as well.
Yeah, I think you maybe even know about this, especially with, I've seen you with the spaces between skateboarding and fashion and photography. It's like when you put yourself in those industries and you start like
Mm.
mingling with more people and you start observing, like I almost want to say violently observing, because I feel like I've gone through that for like the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 years. I've literally just been like, my eyes are just mega peeled, and I don't have bias. I mean, I observe everything, I look at what's going on, and I keep my head down and I do my thing. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's very important to remain focused on what's happening in the scene and the trends and how things are moving, both locally and globally. I think you need to kind of take
Mm-hmm.
inspiration from both. But just being sort of with it, allows you that extra edge of, I guess, maybe even if it's knowledge, I don't know. But I do, at the end of the day, feel like it's experience, so that when you're speaking about the topic that you are passionate in, you're also well informed. And I think
Yeah.
with that, it makes it a lot easier to have organic conversations with people about something that you are passionate about, because you're not just passionate
Mm-hmm.
about it, but you're also invested. And I think
Yeah.
that also opens up the door for other people to give their perspective on it. So, for example, the landing thing. I mean, I attended 2 NAG LANs in a row now because it's the only active LAN that we have in the country. I've been
Mm-hmm.
scouring the Discord servers. I've been keeping an eye on like Twitter, because I feel like that's probably the most outspoken space in our community right now. Um,
Yeah.
and just keeping up to date as to like what people are saying, how it's being reciprocated, what the brands are doing about it, like kind of just staying around it and keeping in mind I've been a part of like the NAGLAN DGC space also for about 10 years now, easily. That I've been super involved there. So I've seen how things changes, which at least gives me a very strong perspective on, what I would like to do in the case of, for example, a pandemic, or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
major technology improvements, or whatever the case might be, which
Yeah.
is cool because it gives me that extra confidence. But I think when I have the discussions with people at the event, it's so cool to hear how like just a random person who's been like a land goer for 6 years straight has such a strong opinion on their
Mm-hmm.
experience, and their best memories and their worst memories, and just absorbing all of that, because you really then start creating a product that's for a set target audience, for a
Mm-hmm.
group. And that's
Mm-hmm.
how it kind of, you get cheat code to like kind of go faster into this space and like navigate it quicker. It just helps
Yeah.
you along the way. I feel like it's the same thing with streaming. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the cross pollination, how many people can contribute to your goal or to how you can contribute to their goals. Yeah, absolutely. I think it applies to pretty much any space. It's relevant to everyone in some way, right?
I agree. I
Yeah,
think so too, especially in the streaming space. I mean, that collaboration and meeting, because it's so boring just playing games by yourself. All of a sudden, if you
yeah,
have like two or three content creators or people that are equally passionate about, creating really cool, trending, edgy gaming content, then you start having
yeah,
people where you can bounce ideas off of, and you start seeing different perspectives, and you start understanding their audiences, and you start understanding the larger sort of community perspective of what is cool, what is trending, what is working, what isn't.
yeah,
And that's when you really start like feeling the groove with things. But I'm not gonna lie,
yeah.
that's streaming is a whole different beast that I've kind of given up on a few years ago. Yeah, it's just something I do for the fun.
Yeah.
Every time I'm bored, I'm like, might as well switch my camera on, see what happens.
Yeah, I'm also at that point now where I'm kind of like it's a good tool, but it can't be everything for me, you know. Um it's a good marketing tool. It's good to connect with your audience like more immediately and stuff, but yeah, I don't know if I would be able to like give my all, like put my whole all my energy into it, you know, indefinitely. I respect people that do. I think
Me
it's really
too.
cool, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't
um
blame you.
yeah. It's also so sensitive. Like if you're inconsistent or if you like move or make any sudden movements, it like disrupts your content. It's like, yeah, it's a difficult one. But
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I also feel like that, like, there's this weird shifts that happen in Twitch that I'm specifically the platform Twitch. I mean, I haven't been too updated on what's happening with YouTube and Kick and so forth, but I feel like the themes
Mm-hmm.
are very similar over like the last few years, especially with the pandemic. You've seen, especially international content creators, just put out the most absurd amounts of hours. Like, if you see how long Summit and Shroud and all of these people stream for, it's like they physically live and breathe on stream. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. It's like an 8 to 10 hour stream every single day, consistently, and you really have to ask yourself, like, okay, if I want to be in the top percent,
Mm,
what does that formula look like? And if you kind of
yeah.
have to start looking at like what the platforms are expecting from you, you will also see that from day dot, like streaming as much as possible has always been I guess like a road to success. I remember even
Yeah.
the affiliate onboarding program where it's like a road to partner or something, and it literally had like this time tick of like how much time you spent. And I used to look at that thing as like hundreds of hours a month that you have to
Yeah.
spend streaming, and I was just sitting there like, okay, like I love gaming. Like, don't get me wrong,
Mm,
I love it, but there's no way I'm giving up 7 days a week, 8 hours a day to just grinding
yeah.
away rank. I didn't love it that much. That's not what I
Yeah.
wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also like it's different gaming and streaming. Like just gaming, not feeling pressure to sort of like entertain or commentate or interact in any way is like a lot less energy than feeling like you need to keep people there so that you can achieve partnerships, so that you can like entertain people, make sure they're having a good time, not say the wrong thing, not do the wrong thing. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's exhausting.
I actually have a hot
um,
take on this that I've been wanting to get out, and maybe this is the perfect place to put it out
yes.
there. I have a hot take, right? So I've been streaming very consistently from the years like 2016 to 2018. I'd say that's probably my most consistent, most active years on Twitch. That's when I tried to put a lot of emphasis on it. It was still not my main emphasis, but like I wanted to grow the space. So
Mm-hmm.
I put a lot of time in, and I thought that at that time I was meeting more people. I was super active. Like I saw my like numbers grow, my followers grow. I didn't ever have too much of a focus on like building subs because it felt more rewarding to me to feel like the viewer base that I have is growing. Like I'm becoming more and
Yeah.
more known in this space. And I've always wanted to
Yeah.
be known within South Africa because I felt like that's where, I kind of wanted to be. I wanted to get to the heights of our local gaming industry. At that point, I didn't know what that meant, but that's what my goals were. And I started, traveling, and I started, getting these brand deals, and I started seeing like, oh, I'm making money off of this. This is amazing. So just like follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. Because eventually I'll make enough money a month that I can save some up and, maybe come out with merch or, that was what I was thinking. Generally, that was where I was going. And after years and years and years of doing that, through the pandemic, the one big thing that hit me the most was like, wow, I don't have any more casual friends to play games with. I don't. I go online, I know a handful of people, but no one's actively messaging me like, hey Jules, wanna jump into an Apex game? Or inviting me to CS lobbies. I didn't have that anymore. Because the more I started streaming and the more I started moving into that space of being a personality, the less I had those, friendships, the friendships that I had from LANing. And that's the thing that I miss the most. And I'm starting to like get very like uneasy about the idea of like creating content to basically take someone's attention and put it on me for hours on a day. Like I don't like that
Yeah.
idea. I
Yeah.
do like the idea of knowing that I'm walking into a space and I have too many invites of people wanting to play games with me and too
Yeah.
many servers to join. Like I need to pick the one that I'm the most excited by. Like now I'm playing a COD
Yeah.
420. Here I'm going into a Valorant game, and next or tomorrow I'm playing some Diablo with some girls. Like that's what I am excited about. And I had to take a cold hard look at what I was doing for a living to realize that they don't work together. They like contradict each
Yeah.
other. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because you mentioned like selling out earlier, and it's kind of like the sacrifice you make. It's like, do I take the money or do I take what I really want to do kind of vibe in any given moment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, you were talking about being prominent in like the South African community and industry. You were looking at going overseas at one point, and I think you went to Ghent, and that's kind of where you were looking at going. Why did you decide against moving?
So, two huge reasons. The first reason for going was that my partner, I'm in a long-term relationship and it's like quite serious and all of that. I guess that also like a lot of times people don't really get. Like I have a life, like my life moves
Yeah.
on. I'm getting older. Like I need to start thinking about things. So he got a job with a company that is based in Ghent, and though the job is fully remote, at the time we were staying in Pretoria, and we really wanted to move. And we started toying with the idea of moving overseas. At this rate, I was a part of the NMK, but I started seeing that I needed a change. I wasn't in a great headspace. I was also going through a personal loss with my mom's passing, and things were just very, very, dire for me. I kind of was looking at like, do I find a corporate job? Am I going back to studying? Like, what is my next steps here? And I started thinking that, I have enough experience behind me to be able to approach the contacts that I made with my travels overseas to like I am Katowice multiple years and to Computex Taiwan and like a few big, tournaments and orgs throughout the years. I've made some contacts, I've met some people in the international scene, and maybe if I go to them and I say, hey, I am open to having, a look at a job, that there would be an opportunity for me to do that. And those conversations actually went really quickly, very long, far along the line, to the point that I actually got invited to Denmark for a job interview. So I did an in-person job interview on one of my trips to Belgium. My partner was looking at accommodation and routes to work, and we were going through getting our docs sorted in South Africa. Like, it was serious. We started putting some cash away for the move and started getting quotes for how much it would cost to take our PCs over, because that's ultimately the only thing that we needed to take with us. And it was like this whole thing. And it got to the point where we were costing things up, and, the wars started breaking out there up in far north. I don't know how much I want to showcase political, discussions, because I'm very unbiased. I just need to put that out there.
Yeah.
I just pick up, I guess, knowledge points, and I try not to form too much of an opinion because I just don't know enough. And ultimately, we went through all of the processes, and my partner initially said that he's not very fond of Belgium. After being there 3 times, after spending a lot of times at the job, he was like, I'm making more money being in South Africa than making that exact same amount in euros and being in Europe. And I was like, okay, that's a big first. We need to think about this. Next, think
Yeah.
about this was I was going through the job applications, and specifically the roles that I was applying for required me to be able to travel across the world. And with a South African passport, I could not do that. So
Yeah.
I was being
Greenlander.
like, I was basically being put in like internship positions where I would be stuck in the office, and then, I would create projects for people and then give it to someone that could travel, and then they would run with it. So I would ultimately have just been a pawn, and it wasn't really what I wanted to be. I wanted to feel like I was affecting something. I wanted to learn. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be a part of it. And just small things started working against us, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, we need to move like now, because our lease was up, things had to happen. So we were like, okay, well, we're definitely not signing another year lease in Pretoria, so we're moving to Cape Town. And we're like, after this year in Cape Town, we'll figure it out. And then Cape
Yeah.
Town got crazy, and then EnterLAN got crazy, and now I'm still in South Africa, and we're probably not moving overseas. So that's the long story short.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, I'm glad. I'm sure South Africa is glad to keep you, for now at least. Like, until, if you do change your mind.
Yeah.
So you turned 27 last year. Yeah, I was at your birthday. What do you see for yourself at 30?
Okay, well, first I'm 28, which is a hard
Oh,
correction to make.
sorry. 28.
It's okay. It's the same thing, right?
Same
I think the
thing.
lines get really blurred in your late 20s. You just
Yeah.
like, all of them are just like 29 until I'm 30. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So I think for me, not too much is going to change. I really want to, God willing, build a LAN business that actually is sustainable and continues to grow. I see so much opportunity within our local scene. I mean, just if you look at the statistics based off of, where we rank when it comes to revenue in the gaming space and the gaming industry globally, I mean, we're doing so well when it comes to game development and just infrastructure development in South Africa. I'm seeing more and more people actually looking towards South Africa as a possible future tech hub. And I don't think that that is something that we shouldn't, that we should discredit ourselves from. I think that there is more than enough youth that is inspired by technology and content creation and new stream media. And we have so much talent, uncovered talent as well. I mean, I would really, really ideally like to build a business that also taps into that, opportunity of technological advancements and education in the future, and not just be an entertainment thing. Like, I kind of want it to be a little bit more than that, and actually feel like I'm doing good for, you know, I guess South Africa in general, and not just the gaming scene. But I think at 30, I'm still going to be doing exactly what I'm doing now, which is grinding away. I do think
Yeah.
towards my mid to later 30s, I would definitely like to find an opportunity where I can be less bish, less online for sure. That's something that
Yeah.
I look forward to doing, is just like, just one day being like, hey guys, this is my last post, peace out, bye. Like that's what I would love to do. I count down the days for that, but in the meantime,
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying specifically Instagram as a creative outlet. I'm a creative person at heart, like I really enjoy creating, but I don't like creating content on social media. I think it's
Yeah.
weird. So
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like I enjoy taking cool photos and, you know, showcasing like a little bit more of my life, and especially these like small little life of a gamer vlogs that I've been doing throughout the years. Like
Yeah.
I always look back at them and I'm like, I can't believe I was that person. That's so cute. Like look at all these memories. And I was like, you know, all these like cute little you know, little trips and things, and I can visualize it. So it's a little bit more for me than what it used to be for the money. I think people can also see that. I mean, I think last year I've had like maybe 4 or 5 major brand deals compared to the last year where it was like complete sponsorship all the freaking time. So I'm being a lot
Yeah.
more selective about it this year. I want it to be a lot more purposeful, a lot more to my ideals and goals, a lot more realistic as well. I think when I was younger, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to blow this out of the water. And there was no real like actual target or goal that I was trying to reach. I was just running full speed ahead into a brick wall.
Yeah.
So now, now I have more of like a bit of a run up, and I know it's a brick wall, and I'm preparing to jump.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the analogy that I'm following right now. So yeah, I don't think much would change by 30 because that's only like 2 years from now. Hopefully by
Yeah.
then we're hosting big lands and we're doing cool stuff, and the team has grown. I would love to see more community members get involved with EnterLAN. If anybody is, you know, keen or hearing something that they like or resonate with or really want to like propose, please, it's really an open space. It's very much in its development phase, and yeah, ideally I would like to have the EnterLAN brand be a community run project. I think that's something that would make me very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, how do you like with EnterLAN, for example, you have this idea. What is the next step in getting businesses involved, getting the money together for it? I know that you invested yourself, but how do you go from the idea to like business?
Yeah, well, the first time I was quite fortunate with, after I studied the course in advanced project management, I identified exactly in which order you should do things. Whereas in the past, I was kind of just using my experience from being a Twitch streamer and a creator and a brand ambassador in the past to kind of understand that you should at least have a basic pitch deck of whatever you're creating, and
Mm-hmm.
send that to people far ahead of time, because money takes time. Like that's
Yeah.
one thing that I realize is money takes a lot of time to get into your pockets.
Yeah.
Like very easily up to a year, and sometimes never if you
Yeah.
don't manage it correctly. So
Yeah.
I've always been very forward thinking in the sense that I reach out to anybody that I think would even listen to me. And often, even in those conversations, I would find sort of the route, the next step within those conversations. So, for example, for the first EnterLAN, I started with speccing the project and making sure that I would be happy with investing the money, because that's the first big, you know, step would be my own
Mm-hmm.
cash to actually pay for the tables, the chairs, the venue, the electricity, the network, like all of those things. So I spec'd out the whole thing from like start to finish. I came up with like a mock-up of how the day would run and how it would look like, and went and physically took photos and made like a mental map drawing of like how everything would look and how everything would run. And then I started dressing up nice to haves, and I was like, we could have a Valorant tournament, we can do some streaming, and we can do like a Call of Duty tournament, and we can do this and we can do that. And then basically take the we can do this to brands and say, this is what I have, this is what's definitely happening, and
Yeah.
this is what could happen if you're involved, if you want to be involved. And then in between those two spaces, you kind of map out, I guess, the ROI, which is where you would also sit with the brand. Because you would think that a lot of people expect, ooh, I want to sell this many products, or I want to see this many people engaging with my brand, or I want to increase my brand's following with like 10,000 followers or something ridiculous. And you're just like, okay, but it's a LAN. So like
Yeah.
this does not really work that way. So you kind of have to
Yeah.
go to people by saying like, this is what we're creating. The bigger picture is X and you fit in here, and we can kind of like pull back on certain elements to make it work into your budget. But it's ultimately a marketing, you know, a marketing
Yeah, like
exercise.
brand awareness.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
up to you to come in and also see that this is a platform. Here are the people. I'm literally putting your target audience in a space, but don't just come here and be like, buy my new thing. Like, actually come and add some value. See if people like
Yeah.
your product. Come test something out. You know,
Yeah.
see if people gravitate towards a certain design. Like, those are also, you know, exercises that is valuable to a brand. So I try to think of it very specifically to the brand. I think one of our biggest partners for the outlaw base was Carry First, naturally, because of the Valorant tournament that we hosted for them. And for them, the value add was that they had a Valorant tournament that was happening later in the year, and this tournament was kind of like an opportunity to promote that tournament. And I was like, absolutely, yeah, use it to the ninth degree. Like, there's going to be a decent sized prize pool. It showcases your investment into the later prize pool that's happening later in the year, and have the conversation make sense. And then they went to their team and said, okay, this is what our strategy looks like. Can we adopt it in your plan? I said yes. Came up with a budget that worked for us both, and we went with it. So it usually is a two-way street.
Yeah.
With the next LAN, which will be announced very soon, everything is absolutely maximized. You know, from the person, like if a gamer is just walking into the venue to set up their PC, we try to think of what value can brands add just with that. Like, what can we make better? Like, what can we do for the gamer to feel like, oh, that was easy, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm already having a good time because I didn't have to carry my PC in here, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's already a value add. Like, that's already something that we can do that a gamer feels happy about and excited about. And then sitting down at their PC, and what do they get on their desk? What type of internet do they get? What type of, you know, do we have load shedding or not? Which, by the way, we don't. But like, these are all things that affect, you know, a gamer's experience at a LAN. So what can we do to make the LAN the best possible LAN that a gamer has been to in over a decade? And then we try aim for that. That's ultimately
Yeah.
the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what has been the highest point in your career so far?
It was probably, I don't know if this is a high or a low, but it was probably me crying crying at the outlaw base LAN. I still have the video. Mo still needs to edit it at some point, but Mo literally filmed like an interview with me on like day 3 of the LAN, and everybody's just gaming behind me, and I'm just hearing people chatting and screaming, and it's such a small LAN, but Oaks are having the best time, and I'm super sleep deprived, and I can officially say I hosted a LAN, no one died. You know, like, it's amazing. And I'm just sitting there like absolutely shaking and tearing up and just going like, thank you everyone.
Yay.
Thank you. So I think it was that, because of the sheer amount of pressure that I felt. Like, I really, really put my heart and soul into EnterLAN, and I would say that felt the most gratifying. I mean, I can think of a whole bunch of great times that I've had, you know, from like back from DGC days, and competing with the DNMK FE team at, you know, Goal Gamer. You know, all of those times is like great memories. But I think the most gratifying feeling I felt so far was hosting my own LAN, and actually just having a holy shit moment in an interview and just being like, I can breathe again. It's done. I don't have to wake up early tomorrow. I don't have to fill in
Yeah.
projected costs and timesheets,
Yeah.
and I'm done, and it feels great. And yeah, I think that was probably the most gratifying moment for sure.
Okay, so we'll see that video soon.
Yeah, I actually do want to edit it. I think
Yeah.
it tells the best story. Like it has to be shown
Yeah.
somewhere.
Absolutely. So I know that you did. I don't know if it was like show jumping. You
I
did
did
horse
dressage.
riding. You
I
did
did dressage.
dressage.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would that be the thing that surprises that people are most surprised by you? If not, what would surprise people about you?
I think I think being the person I
Mm,
am, it probably won't surprise people that much to say that I was a competitive horse rider. What would
mm-hmm.
surprise people more likely is that I come from a very, very small town in the Northern Cape. My family has a farm there and has had for generations. I'm very Afrikaans, because boy Afrikaans. I'm so Afrikaans that, in fact, my family would be considering themselves as Namakwalanders, which is like a
Really?
region in the Northern Cape.
Yeah.
And I got into horse riding by rescuing well, not rescuing, but like picking my first ever like competitive Western Province champ horse out of the
Mm-hmm.
Namibian desert. So it
Oh,
wasn't
that's
like a
crazy.
pure breed or anything. It was just like a random horse in the desert, and I couldn't even tell if it was like a decent size or not. But I was like, he looks pretty, and I just took him home with me, and he was completely free. And 6 years later, I won Western Province champs with him, and it was amazing. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna kick this up a notch and actually get myself a proper schoolmaster. And then I did that, and
Yeah.
then got deep into dressage. So I think the dressage thing probably won't, but I think the origin story of where this all comes
Yeah.
from, like being the chicken her, Fallies and Gaki Brookie and like, running around and like hunting rabbits for dinner and shit like that's probably a little bit more surprising.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for Thank you so much for chatting with me. It's really always good to talk to you and get your insights on things, from someone who's been successful at a number of things. Always good to talk to you. Yeah, and I wish you the best. Looking forward to seeing the next EnterLAN and everywhere you go with it.
Thanks, Chloe. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was great chatting with you too. I think we, you know, giving like the YouTube content creation aside, we should actually catch up on Discord too and just like
Yeah,
hang out. But we should get
properly.
like a bunch of people to come and just spitfire like some cool ideas, because I think it's always like very inspiring when
Yeah,
people connect in different spaces and you're just catching up, even if it's just over like a game of Valorant or something fun. So
yeah. We
exciting.
should we should organize that. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jules.